Hello, welcome, Consuelo.
Hi, Ginger. How are you?
I'm doing well today. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. It's a nice day over here in California and sunny and everything.
It's a nice day in New Mexico too. That's what it's
All
nice about
right.
living out west. It's a nice day every
Yeah,
day.
that's good. Good to
Yeah.
see you.
Well, I'm so grateful that you agreed to come on and talk about your history, your experience, your work with AWA. You're such a valued person on the board and with your work. And I was really excited to get to talk to you and learn more about your beginnings. So if we can just start with the question that most people I like to ask is how did you get started with AWA?
Yes, thanks. And thanks for having me here, Ginger. And I love AWA. Started, I think it was 2000, the year 2000. I went to the Pacific School of Religion up in Berkeley, California for a summer session. And I saw on the syllabus that there was this woman teaching writing, Pat Schneider. So I decided to take one of those courses during that summer period time at that place. And that's where I met Pat Schneider. She would come there apparently from Massachusetts to California, in Berkeley, California, and teach at this seminary school every summer, at least for a couple of years. So I was fortunate to find her there. So I took my first class with her, writing class, and it was just phenomenal. It was something so um, inspirational that you can write who you are, the way you are, with someone who understood people of all different backgrounds and how they express themselves. So that was a life-changing experience for me. And if I can just share a little story that really, really helped me when I was with Pat. I would come in there, and of course, I was, you're up there and you're at these high level university things you're doing in in the summer, and you're writing. And my writing had, at least for the public, had usually been at the academic level and research and, working with, everything of that nature. So in writing with Pat, I guess I was a little stiff. You wanted to be correct. You wanted to use the right writing and the right words and everything.
Yep.
So she pulled me aside one day. This was only for a week. I only had her for a week. It must have been the second day. I don't know, but it seemed like quite a long time, maybe a 3 hour session or something with her every day for a week. So she pulled me aside the second or third day and talked to me and said, you know what, I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your voice. You're being academic, you're being professional. Um, Even as you respond to the people in here, you're doing what you feel you need to do. But I want to hear you. Who are you? So she said, tonight, I want you to write something for me. And I want you to bring it and let me, this was maybe, like I said, Tuesday, Wednesday, before we leave this week. I want you to bring it to me. And she talked to me quite a long time about being authentic and letting your voice out and not being afraid of that, understanding that um, being a Black woman in any sort of area at that time, especially in higher education and all, there was always these stigmas that you were getting over. Always needing to be careful about how you presented yourself, how you wrote things, how you proved self. She understood all of that. And I had never really worked with someone um, in that arena that really understood what different people from different backgrounds go through. So I was so impressed with her. I went home that night and I wrote a piece for her and brought it back the next day. She took it, she read it, and then the day after that, she said to me, when did you start working on this? I said, I wrote it last night, that night, when you told me to write that. And I just let myself go. And it ended up, she was surprised, and I was surprised, but I did what I would do if I were able to express myself. And it ended up in this paragraph. I was so shocked. She wanted to publish it. It's called Daddy's Story. And it was amazing. It was amazing that that happened. She published it. She thought it was incredible. She didn't believe I did it overnight. I said, "Yep, that's the way I like to write when it's just me." And so we talked a lot about just being authentic, being who you are. And when was this? This was several, well, like I said, maybe back in 2000 or something when this all happened. Yep, 2000. And I was still in a situation where I felt I needed to be very careful, especially being an academic and with other people, and you had to do things specifically, that kind of writing. So for her to tell me there's something in you that has value and you have a right to express this, not just for yourself, but for those who would want to read this or who you can inspire. That's what you're all about. So she broke through some very strong walls that I had put up around myself my whole life, because that's how I had to be raised. It was a matter of safety in communities when we were young, and you were an African American woman or man or young boy or girl growing up. You had to always code shift. We called it that. Was a little way of speaking about things. You code shift. You don't be yourself. You don't be relaxed. When you go out in public, you have to be a certain way. But she told me how good it was to have your own voice and how phenomenal some of the work can be when you can be you. And so that changed me and my writing and my approach to writing because of that also.
Did
So,
that experience make you, because then you go on to train and be part of the next group and generation, then did
mhm,
it make you want to do that for other people and lead workshops?
absolutely.
Is that what, because it did
Abs
that for me. Similar experience.
Absolutely. And the next, so I saw her in Berkeley, and I think I went 2 years there. And then the next year, I went out and did writing with her. And then the year after that, I went out again and I became certified as a facilitator.
Okay.
And what I did then is I took that work back to my university and I worked with with a group of students of color, because we were in a kind of a private type university and there was not a lot of diversity. I was the only African American instructor in the whole university and I was their first one. So it was a difficult place socially and all. And I was very keen at being proper, and doing the things that I had to do. So there were these other students also who I could tell from the way they spoke or their writings, and they would come around me a lot and we'd speak. There was so much more to them that they were trying to hold back. And this is what happens with people and students, particularly who are in areas where they know you always have to do what we call code shift. You have to be a little bit different. You can't be yourself. So I started a writing group with them. And periodically I'll look at it. I still have it. And this has to have been 20, maybe 30 years ago. This was a long time ago. But we wrote in the method. Everything is fiction. And that is a huge piece that I don't think a lot of people understand. That's what helped me too. You can write this knowing this is fiction because sometimes our stories can be used and used against us. And the stories that some people have to tell can be um, quite startling or quite awakening to people who I never knew you thought like that. I never knew you were uncomfortable here. I never knew you had this type of understanding about life in different ways. And you write that, and somebody attributes it to you and begins to use it improperly. So being able to say this is fiction, and I write it, it opened up this group of students that I worked with, and they came from all different ethnic backgrounds. And they wrote the most beautiful work. They wrote small essays, they wrote poems, they wrote things that were just flowing from their hearts because of this method. And that's what really, again, inspired me so much about Pat's method. And I remember going to an organization called NAME, a National Association of Minority Educators. It was an international um, group. And went there, and at one of the um, presentations, I was able to talk about this method and try to get people to understand about Always method, and I call it Always method, and to see if they might be interested in learning who Pat Schneider was, so they could bring that to their students. Because I found that students who had been afraid to speak up, students who were afraid to write, they began to become more open in class, even with speaking up and saying that the way I think about things and the way I present it is my gift. So this technique for me goes so much farther than just sitting in a writing course with others who are writing that day, to just everything we do in our life, knowing that what we say, how we feel is acceptable. You still have to do what we call code shift for certain things. Academic writing is academic writing. Um, but there are ways then to have time to express yourself that can also reach to levels where people of all background want to hear. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That
that's
code
my
shift,
thing.
that that's powerful. And that code shift that you talk about, I think that's probably what got validation and got you to these call, when you're learning a certain way to write and do those things, then it's hard to break out of that because that's been you think the way that you've been successful, but then your own voice or your own way of being in the world gets muted. And then you're afraid to express that again so that you could bring that to other people is just a really beautiful thing. And I think that's the power of the method because it does, if someone pulls you aside and says, hey, there's freedom here,
Yeah,
be you, it's in you. There's no rules. Just, you know
yeah,
all the rules, and now you need to go back to who you are and what you have to say. I love that you said that. That's beautiful.
yeah.
Ah, I'm grateful.
And that was my thing with Pat. She was such an encouraging woman also. And she understood, the people that she used to write with were the women that had been in abject poverty and all, and people didn't look at them. You become invisible in societies when you live in a certain manner or whatever. So she saw those who are invisible and let them understand that they are visible, that you can be seen. And not only that, some of the writing, because when I went back and worked with her, she was still working with some of those women, and the writing in there was so deep and so beautiful. And it just had so much to do with the reality of life on an everyday thing. When you were just relaxed and you were just who you are, talking about your families and your dreams for your children, these types of things. So it was just a life-changing experience to be around someone who understood things in that manner.
Did you get
Yeah.
to go write with one of her groups
Yeah.
in Amherst? You did.
Yes,
What
yes,
a
yes.
great
I went back
experience.
there. I wrote with them the first time. Well, I wrote with her, of course, at the university aspect, but I went back there twice into Massachusetts, and I went the first time just to write. And so I wrote with a lot of those ladies that she had worked with before and others from the community that came in, and it just expressed themselves. And I'll tell you, it was such a life-changing experience to not only be able to write what I wanted to write and share it. And it was all fiction, right?
Yeah.
But you kind of know, like, wow, you really get to talk about your background in some way. But yeah, I know this is fiction, but the same with them. But
Yeah.
the things that you could explore with your writing that you were never going to think that you could even say.
Mhm.
We had permission to do that amongst ourselves. And it was just magic. It was magic from the people who came there and left there feeling like they had purpose and were seen. So the method is so much deeper than just writing something, every day that you want to write and um, having a lot of formality to it.
Yeah.
It really is a way to allow people to express who they are that they might want to leave, not only for themselves, but maybe even for their children, for the future, for others to see. You can write things that, yeah, you can really be yourself and write this in a way that is really magic.
Yes. And
It's
one of the
music.
things I mean, and if you're, I have her book here, Writing Alone with Others. People that aren't familiar with the method, you can learn more about, you have yours too.
That's right.
Fun.
All marked up and everything.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm like full of like stickies and papers and stuff.
That's right. Mine
But
too.
it's
Yeah,
a good way to learn about what we're talking about. If people are, like,
yes,
what are they talking about? This book will explain it and you'll
absolutely.
want to
Mhm.
learn more because,
In,
yeah,
in fact, let me see if I have this right here. I do. I'll actually tell you, it's on page 99. You're not supposed to know it's me because it's changed just a little bit, but it is when she spoke to me and told me to make some changes, and she wrote about it. And when I was reading through this book, I just started laughing. I thought, that's our conversation. She changed it, enough to, protect the innocent there.
yeah.
It's that last paragraph, well, last of the next big paragraph there. When you begin to write in your own primary voice, you may need to be strong to defend it. And that started with it. And I'm like, oh, that was a piece of our conversation.
I marked a new page.
Yeah, yeah. Page
The
99.
Consuelo page.
Now
That's
the world
exciting.
knows.
That's a gift for me to know that. That's really cool. That's
Yeah,
really special.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
had several of these conversations now, and that's the first time someone has said something like that. That's really neat. Oh my goodness. Thank you
yeah.
for telling me that.
Yeah, sure. That was a life-changing experience for me to hear that what I have to say has value. What I have to say might be something others might want to hear. Um, what I have to say, the way I want to say it,
Yeah.
is acceptable. Um, and again, I still know how to, like I say, what we say, code shift. If I need to speak in a certain way or write in a certain way, well, that's my training,
Yeah.
professionally, I can do that. But it's good to know that it always doesn't have to be that way.
Well,
You know?
and part of that, I think
Yeah.
your training and your abilities and your education, but then your experience, only you can write that. All of
Mhm.
that comes together and culminates. And that's one of the things that I really liked about was my training was you're the only one that can write your story.
Right.
And that's a really tall order. No
Yeah.
one else can do this. So if you're going to do it, use all of it. Use
Yeah.
everything about you and do it. And anyway, so yeah, I agree with you on this is a way to bring it out in a way that is just absolute. It's a key and it unlocks something that writing alone at your computer just doesn't in that vacuum. And you get into
Right.
an AWA writers group and all of a sudden you go, wow, I've never written like that before. Why? And I don't know why. There's some sort
Right.
of magic trick that Pat Schneider unlocked with or
Mhm.
whoever is leading the workshop or whatever happens with the other talented writers there. But it's special.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I think that a lot of people will write like I would on their own. You have your journals, you're hoping nobody ever gets to them. You want to write your poetry, you want to write your thoughts for the day, you want to write your history so you could share it with others. And those types of things in journals and all are going to probably stay kind of private anyway, hopefully. But some people do get theirs published because a broader audience can understand them. Maybe more people now today are having things published that come from different ethnic groups and experiences of life, which is powerful and important for us to understand people. And when we sit and put a pen to paper, because most of the writing I'll do is still writing pen to paper. There's just something about that, or writing in a journal. I do also write online, and I'm a fast typer. I usually close my eyes and type. I don't even, I just do that because that comes from being a pianist also. Because, you have to learn all of these uh, things that you
Yeah.
have to learn with that. And you can play with your eyes closed after a while. So, I could type with my eyes closed and just get the words and let them flow knowing that
Creating.
this is the true you, that it can come out and you decide whether other people will see it or not. It's kind of hard to take it when you've written it and try to, you know, turn it around. But there are so many different readers now, so many people coming from all kinds of backgrounds who are interested in what other people have to say that wasn't there before. You had to write like certain, professional writers and authors and this type of thing. And Pat would talk about that. You don't have to do that. You have to write like you.
Yeah.
You have to write like your culture.
Yeah.
You have to write like the things that you understand from your history, from your family history. That's the way you have to write. Those words that you used in your home, that the family just shared, that your grandmother taught you. Like my grandma, she was brought out from Louisiana to help raise the kids in California when my parents had their own business. And so, all the things she would teach us about that, the old country and everything. People want to hear that. And you can write that now. It's like this method gives you an opportunity to break through
I
and really
agree.
say
And
who
there's an
you are.
audience for it. And I think more
Yeah.
and more with AI, it seems that there's a formula
Hmm.
and there's not a lot of people that spend the time to sit down and craft the thing from beginning to end that AI can't do. And
Yeah.
it's something that, I think will become more valuable because we also have these individual stories that need to be told
Yeah.
in the individual's voice.
Hmm.
And like you said, in
Absolutely.
their own words, because that's what makes a rich, good, valuable story,
Hmm.
in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you can
on
write
that,
about any topic. So that's the other good thing too.
that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. And there's so many aspects to a person. So there's a lot of ways that you can go and talk about any aspect of your life or your experience or your imagination that you would like to develop.
That's right.
Sky's the limit. Um,
Yes.
so I'm wondering if you have no pressure. If you have a piece you would like to read that you want to
Hmm.
share, you are welcome to, but you also don't have to.
You know, um, you know what? I found something because I've always been someone to journal, even before all of this. And it's so funny. I was going through some old things. I'll read you a little piece that has never been punished. And when published, I wrote this actually, it had to be when I was back in the Peace Corps. And so I was overseas and I took a bunch of journals with me, and I just started writing in them. And I'm glad I did because there were just times that you're just experiencing something. And I was, like I said, Peace Corps. So I was in the villages and I was working with women who were bringing palm oil into their villages to help with the food. And so it was kind of a business thing, but working with them and hearing their stories and sitting around at night with them and with their children and, actually and sleeping in the homes with them, I mean, just totally living the life there in Africa. So I began to write some things, but let me just read a piece of a poem. And it wasn't about the African experience. I've got so many, but it's just had an opportunity to bring some things out that you don't before. I don't even know what I call this, but it says, sometimes I feel so tired, like a motherless child having struggled all alone to see life emerge. Sometimes I really feel what they meant when they cried. Ain't nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Because only I can look inside me and see the scars of the battle I fight that resembles your own, but it's just not quite the same. So that was one. And then there has another one. I'm bursting free. Hallelujah. I found my Lord, and he has heard the flowing prayers of my continuous entreaties. I'm up and out, running. Glory. Lordy, Lord, can't stop me now. The chance is gone to bring me down. The chains have rusted, and I'm gaining on you. Look out, because once I pass you up, I'm gone. I just used to write a lot of things of that nature.
I love the contrast in those two pieces.
Yeah,
Sometimes I feel tired like a motherless child.
yeah.
And then look out, Lord, like it's just there must have been a lot of like ups and downs and tired and glory and just enjoying those times there. I didn't know that about you. That's really that you have a lot of really amazing stories from that time there. Serving in the
Yeah,
Peace Corps. That is
yeah.
really special. I'm grateful you shared those.
Thank you, thank you. I'm grateful that I put them down. I'm grateful that I got them back. Sometimes leaving back there in the old days in Peace Corps when we were in like I said, we were in Africa international travel, and you'd put things in your things to take over, and they got stolen. You never got them, from your writing works to anything. So I probably carried these on me
Yeah,
because that was from a long time ago. Yeah.
hold them tight.
Mhm.
Hold
Yeah.
them tight, man.
Yeah.
Um, well, this is a question that's usually the last question, so we can Well, I'll ask this one, and then if you have something that we didn't get to that you would like to share, we can do that, and you'll have the last word. Um, what
Time
keeps
goes
you?
fast, huh?
It does go fast. What keeps you coming back to AWA workshops?
Well, the ability to be free, to express who I am and do it, understanding that there's respect for it. It's confidential between us as we write. I can say what I want to say. I'm not going to be judged, which is because of Pat's method, that what we write in here is fiction. We could say anything, and that's the way we look at it. We look at the work. We don't look at the individual as sharing their personal experience. I can be free and I can write. And then I can change that either into something that's autobiography or I could change it into fiction. I can do what I want with it, but I have that freedom. And before that, I hadn't thought of it in that way that, I'm going to write in a certain genre or something, and that's what it has to be. I don't have to do that. I can be who I am. So that's what's powerful with it to me. Um, I just did a session not long ago with writing with other people who have experienced cancer as I have. I would have been afraid to write about that if it had not been for this method. And mine is new. It's just been from 2024 into today. In remission, but I still have my struggles
Yeah.
with it. And that is a community of people too. There's some fear in writing about those things that have changed you. So because of this method, I feel honored that I can write with people who have been through a hard issue such as that changes you. Sometimes it works on your cognition, it works on your, overall health, of course, it works on your fatigue, it works on these things, and you have to keep going. And people don't understand that. But guess what? We can get together, we can talk about this, or we can write about it knowing it's all confidential. We can see it as fiction if we want, and we can express that. So this method allows people who would otherwise be outside of the area of expressing themselves poetically or whatever other way, you can express the truth of yourself with this method. And you can do it with others who listen with respect and don't judge. And that allows, I believe, writing to come into this world that otherwise would never be able to see the light of day. And people will understand the depth of their own creativity inside of themselves and find out that it's good,
Yeah.
that what they have to say is worthwhile, that they have a place in this world to be in the creative community. It's not just for certain people, but it's for yourself. And there are others who want to hear what you have to say. And that's what I get out of this. And that's why I love this. I love that I met this incredible woman. I love the way she encouraged me. And I love the way that now I can go through with this and encourage others also to know who they are creatively and just inside and bring it out.
I love that too. And you may not know this, but you encourage me and you have several times. So your work is having an effect. And I can,
Wow.
if I'm speaking for myself, so I
Thank you.
appreciate you sharing that, and I appreciate you sharing your experiences with AWA.
Thank you,
Do you
Ginger.
have
Thanks for having me.
anything else that you like? Did we miss anything? I don't want to cut it off if you have something else that you had to
No,
share.
I don't think I have. I would just say to people, write every day. I've been journaling. I journal every day. And even on the last couple of years when things were really hard and frightening and you can't speak to anybody, you're isolated with something that's happening to you. And again, some of these journals that I'm reading, I mean, this one is way back when I was in Africa. I mean, you don't even have books like this here. I've got my writings here from and those thoughts at that time. But journal every day, write your thoughts down, write something, just make it that beautiful habit that you have. I look back now, I have a couple of journals full of my whole experience, um, the change in my health and everything, but I have journals of my child when he was just a toddler. And these things come back and you see how life has evolved for you. but write every day, write in your journal, write who you are, find a group to get together with. I'm starting up my groups again. I did have to, that's the reason why I had to back away for a while, but I'll be starting up my groups and we're going to write some honest things together, as we all do when we write with AWA. And just learning that if you've ever been afraid to just experience who you are deeply because of those, personal things or societal things, you can come and be in a safe place with people who understand this is a safe place. What we say here stays here, but what's inside of you has value and you can write it. And who knows? Who knows where it's going to go for you? Yeah, that's what I
Grateful.
would say.
Thank you.
Thank you too for having me, Ginger.
You bet.